In the 1960s, computers were giants, towering machines, filling entire rooms, demanding armies of specialists just to operate them. Companies paid fortunes for machines that could barely solve math problems quickly. Government research centers were stacked with cables, blinking lights, and endless cabinets of circuitry, all trembling under the weight of growing demand. The world was hungry for information. Businesses needed faster calculations. Scientists needed more accurate simulations. Space exploration required brains far beyond human capability. But each new improvement only made computers bigger, heavier, and more expensive. Humanity had reached a technological wall. Computers were powerful, but trapped in their massive bodies. The world needed something revolutionary, not something slightly improved, but something shrunk, a computer that didn't require a building, a computer that could fit on your desk, maybe even in the palm of your hand. The world needed a breakthrough. The world needed the microprocessor. At the dawn of the 1970s, a radical idea whispered through the halls of Silicon Valley. What if the brain of a computer, the processor, could be carved into a tiny silicon chip? No more massive circuit boards tangled together like metallic vines. No more rooms of machines. Just one extraordinary piece of silicon containing all the instructions and intelligence a computer needed. Small, efficient, affordable. Such a chip could power calculators, medical devices, spacecraft, and someday change daily life for billions. But engineers looked at the idea and shook their heads. No way, they said. A whole computer brain on one tiny chip, impossible. It wasn't merely a technical challenge. It was a challenge to imagination. Engineers were chained to the thinking of the past. Only one man was brave enough to push beyond that limit, an Italian immigrant with relentless curiosity and fire in his heart, Federico Faggin. Federico walked into Intel in 1970 with a belief few dared to hold. Small is powerful. The future is tiny. He envisioned circuits so small they seemed like invisible miracles. And yet, they worked faster than anything the world had ever seen. He had already helped invent a revolutionary technology called Silicon Gate, enabling chips to run cooler, faster, and smarter. That technology was the key, like discovering fire at the dawn of civilization. Soon, Intel handed him a challenge no one else wanted: to turn a chaotic stack of circuit boards into a single chip, one so compact it could become the brain of any machine. Where others saw madness, Federico saw a masterpiece waiting to be born. He knew that if this could be done, the world would change forever, because everything powerful would become portable. But he also knew this challenge could break him. It would demand sleepless nights, creative genius, and stubborn courage. He would fight both physics and doubt. That battle would create history. 1971. A date etched into the history of human progress. Federico Faggin completed the Intel 4004, the first commercial microprocessor on Earth, barely the size of a fingernail. Yet inside it lived the power of a room-sized computer. It was the birth of the digital age. The microprocessor quickly spread into calculators, test systems, and industrial machines, but its true potential, it was only just beginning. Within a few decades, computers shrank to desktops, phones shrank to pockets, intelligence shrank to chips. Every electronic device we hold today, every smartphone, plane, car, medical scanner, laptop, traces its roots back to Faggin's invention. He didn't just solve a technical problem. He gave humanity a new superpower, the ability to put intelligence anywhere, everywhere. Federico Faggin stepped into America as a dreamer. He emerged as the father of the modern digital world. His microprocessor didn't just make machines smarter, it made the world smarter. Federico Faggin was born in Vicenza, Italy in 1941, a world at war. Air raid sirens, fear, and rationing shaped childhood for many. But young Federico saw something else amid the chaos: opportunity to understand. He was the child who would rather repair broken radios than play outside. Old appliances were treasure chests filled with secrets. He unscrewed, rewired, rebuilt, not to break, but to discover. His father, a respected philosopher, taught him that knowledge is the one power no one can take away. Books filled the home, ideas filled the dinner table, and even as bombs shook Italy, curiosity shook Federico's world, pushing him toward invention. While others rebuilt buildings after the war, Federico felt called to rebuild the future. Federico chased science like a river that never stopped flowing. In high school, he dove into electronics, crafting circuits from spare wires and salvaged parts. Teachers marveled at how he solved problems with elegant simplicity. He then entered the University of Padua, studying physics and engineering, disciplines that demanded both imagination and precision. Federico had both. He worked at Italy's National Institute of Nuclear Physics while still a student, designing cutting-edge experiments. He was more than talented, he was determined. While classmates studied theory, Federico built machines. While others waited for instructions, he created his own path. Every transistor he soldered, every circuit he tested, was one step closer to a world no one yet imagined. Federico's hunger for innovation could not be contained by a single country. America, the new frontier of technology, was pulling him forward like gravity. Leaving Italy was not easy. He left behind friends, culture, and the comfort of familiarity. But he carried something far more important, a belief that his future waited across the Atlantic. In Silicon Valley, he found both opportunity and love. He married a woman who understood that his genius came with sleepless nights, stubborn persistence, and a restless mind that refused silence. She supported the risks, the long hours, the idea that failure was only a step toward success. Their home was simple, but filled with dreams. And as technology boomed around him, their life blossomed too. A daughter arrived, bringing warmth and laughter into the chaos of invention. Federico discovered that the greatest innovations are fueled not just by ambition, but by love that believes in you. Even as Federico's career accelerated, he remained a devoted husband and father. With every chip he designed, every lab problem he solved, he thought about the world his children would grow up in. He wanted a future where knowledge wasn't locked in giant rooms of machines, but placed into everyone's hands. A future where technology lifted humanity rather than limited it. Late nights at the lab were followed by early mornings, helping prepare breakfast. Blueprints and bedtime stories lived side by side. Federico's family reminded him of something vital. Invention is not about machines. It's about the people who will use them. Every laugh from his daughter, every word of encouragement from his wife, these were sparks that powered him when exhaustion threatened to consume him. He was building more than a chip. He was building tomorrow. And every personal sacrifice drew him closer to the moment when the world would shift from analog existence to digital reality. Federico Faggin didn't come to America seeking greatness. He came seeking possibility. But greatness found him anyway, because he never stopped believing that innovation should serve humanity. Federico Faggin arrived in Silicon Valley, carrying ambition bigger than any suitcase. His first major engineering challenges came at Fairchild Semiconductor, the company where some of the world's greatest innovators sharpened their skills. Yet even among geniuses, Federico stood out. He developed the silicon gate technology, a breakthrough that made transistors faster, smaller, and more efficient than ever before. But even brilliance faces resistance. The industry was comfortable with what already worked. Computers still filled rooms, powered by sprawling boards of circuits and chips. Executives doubted anyone could squeeze that intelligence into a single component. Federico spent long nights in labs where the only sound was the steady hum of machines and the steady beat of determination. Failures came often. Designs broke. Ideas collapsed. But each setback taught him what the next attempt needed. The world asked, "Why shrink something that already works?" Federico answered, "Because the future must fit in your hands." In 1970, Intel, still a young company, offered Federico a challenge no one else dared to take on. A Japanese company wanted a new kind of chip for a calculator, a processor capable of executing multiple functions, one chip that could replace entire circuit boards. Competitors said it was impossible. Even Intel wasn't fully convinced. But when Federico looked at the proposal, he didn't see a calculator. He saw the blueprint of the future. Intel handed him the project no one could solve, the MC Sminus 4-chip design. Federico walked into a quiet workspace, rolled up his sleeves, and began designing the brain of tomorrow. Colleagues watched with awe as he scribbled diagrams faster than they could follow, his mind 3 steps ahead of technology itself. This wasn't just engineering, it was invention in real time. Federico led a tiny team, sometimes just himself, through day and night sessions where coffee replaced sleep and determination replaced comfort. He designed circuits so small that even errors were microscopic. Wires thinner than hair had to carry the dreams of the world. One mistake, and the miracle would collapse. With surgical precision, he invented new methods to squeeze thousands of tiny switches, transistors, onto one fingernail-sized chip. He personally created the architecture, the logic, and even the layout of every pathway where electrical signals would flow. And then, after months of silent war against failure, the Intel 4004 was born, the world's first commercial microprocessor. A chip that could calculate, make decisions, control devices, replace dozens of separate components, barely visible to the human eye, yet able to think. It was the greatest technological leap since the invention of the transistor. At first, even Intel didn't grasp what had been created. They marketed the 4004 as a calculator chip. But the truth, it was the brain of a computer. Inside was the power to revolutionize every industry. Soon the world realized what Federico had unleashed. Cash registers became smart, industrial machines. Automated computers shrank from rooms. To desktops, spacecraft gained new precision. And then came the personal computer, the internet, mobile phones, virtual intelligence. Everything modern society relies on began with Federico Faggin's microprocessor. His invention didn't just shape the digital age, it created it. He turned silicon into intelligence. He turned circuits into ideas. He turned the impossible into the everyday. Federico proved that the future belonged not to machines we visited, but to the machines we could carry with us. From a boy repairing radios in war-torn Italy, to the man who gave the world its electronic heartbeat, Federico Faggin changed history without ever seeking fame. He simply believed a computer should go where people go. And thanks to him, it does. Imagine the human brain shrunken to the size of your fingertip, yet still capable of making decisions in a fraction of a second. That is the microprocessor, the tiny chip that Federico Faggin brought to life. Inside the microprocessor are millions, now billions, of microscopic transistors. Each transistor is like a tiny switch that flips between on and off. These rapid changes form a language binary, the foundation of digital thought. 1, 0, 1, 0, those ones and zeros. Their decisions, their logic. They're a machine thinking at lightning speed. A microprocessor receives information, processes it, produces an answer every time you swipe a screen, take a picture, or send a message. A processor is making choices faster than your mind can comprehend. The miracle is not just power, but power in miniature. Before Faggin's invention, computers were like sprawling cities of circuits. One board handled memory, another handled control signals, another performed math, all complex, all massive. Federico did something bold. He integrated those functions into one chip. CPU, central brain memory management, input/output control, all fused together. This fusion made machines smaller, faster, stronger, cheaper. Suddenly, computers didn't need to be monuments of steel and wire. They could shrink into pocket-sized powerhouses. From rocket guidance to washing machines to heart monitors, intelligence could now travel anywhere. Innovation finally became mobile. Every microprocessor follows instructions, tiny commands telling it what to do. Add these numbers, move this data, store that memory, multiply, decide. Federico created the instruction set architecture, a language the chip could understand and execute. Even simple instructions combine to produce wonders. A camera app opens music plays on command pilots, navigate skies, medical monitors, save lives, cars think. While driving, every tap, every click, every digital interaction, executed through thousands of instructions per second. This changed humanity's relationship with machines. We no longer operated computers. Computers worked for us. At the beginning, Faggin's microprocessor controlled a calculator. Today, microprocessors control the world. They live inside smartphones, laptops, games, consoles, cars, satellites, industrial robots, smart watches, medical implants, AI systems. We rely on them every second, even in ways we don't see. Life itself has become a digital ecosystem, and the microprocessor is its beating heart. Federico Faggin didn't just shrink technology, he expanded humanity's potential. His chip became the foundation of the tech boom, global communication, artificial intelligence, education. Accessible everywhere, everything we know about modern civilization exists partly because one man refused to believe the limits placed on him. Federico once said, "The microprocessor was born from a passion to give intelligence to things." He succeeded. The world has become smarter, faster, more connected, because he turned silicon into a thinking force. From war-torn childhood to the bright horizon of Silicon Valley, to the spark that launched the digital age, Federico Faggin's journey proves that a great invention isn't about making machines smarter. It's about making people more powerful.